The Boy Who Left an Apple on the Park Bench, a story of friendship and forgiveness. A small gesture can change lives forever. Jake, an 8-year-old boy, begins leaving an apple on a park bench every day for an unknown old man and his faithful dog. What seemed like a simple act of kindness ends up reuniting a family separated for years and brings profound lessons about love, forgiveness, and friendship. Amid the golden fall, secrets from the past are revealed, and bonds are rebuilt. Get ready to be moved by this inspiring story of how small actions can lead to big changes. If you believe in the power of love and forgiveness, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like, and share this story with those you care about. Let's spread kindness together. The soft breeze and chirping birds made up the morning symphony of the park, where every day began the same for little Jake, only 8 years old. He was different from the other kids his age. Small, with big brown eyes hidden behind thick glasses. For Jake, books were portals to imaginary worlds where he got lost in fantastic adventures. Every day after school, while other children played, Jake went to the park and sat on a bench under a large tree. There, he would dive into his favorite stories or simply daydream. However, one day, his routine was interrupted when he noticed an old man with a scruffy appearance, gray beard, and worn-out shoes sitting on a nearby bench. Next to him was a large black dog wagging its tail, eagerly waiting for its turn to play. The man, named Thomas, shared his bread with the dog and spoke to him with affection, as if they were old friends. Observing this scene day after day, Jake began to admire the friendship and loyalty between the man and the dog. He decided to leave an apple on the bench as a gesture of kindness for Thomas and his faithful companion, Max. Every day, Jake repeated this gesture, watching from afar as Thomas smiled when he found the apple and shared it with Max. But one day, when Jake arrived at the park, he was surprised to see a well-dressed man sitting on the bench with 2 bodyguards beside him. The man seemed anxious, frequently looking at his watch. Intrigued, Jake hid and watched from a distance. Days passed, and the man kept showing up at the same time, but Thomas and Max were nowhere to be seen. Jake's curiosity grew with each passing day. Finally, the well-dressed man, whose name was Richard, noticed Jake watching and called him over for a conversation. Richard explained that he was looking for his father, Thomas, with whom he had lost contact many years ago. They had fallen out because of poor choices Richard made in the past, and now he was desperate to reconcile. Jake, who knew Thomas, promised to help. He gave Richard his number and said that if he found Thomas again, he would pass along the message that his son wanted to see him. Weeks later, Jake finally found Thomas and Max in the park. Excited, he ran up to them and delivered Richard's message. Initially, Thomas resisted, recalling the pain the estrangement had caused, but Jake, with maturity and simple words, encouraged him to give the reunion a chance. The next day, on a chilly autumn morning, father and son met at the park bench. The reunion was emotional, filled with tears, apologies, and finally, a sincere hug. Richard asked for forgiveness for his mistakes, and Thomas, with a heart softened by time and Jake's words, accepted. Max, the dog, ran around them, wagging his tail joyfully. In the days that followed, Jake, Richard, and Thomas became friends. During a walk in the park with his parents and his new puppy, Buddy, Jake saw Thomas and Richard walking together, laughing and talking like a united family. The happiness in everyone's eyes showed that, no matter how difficult the journey, love and forgiveness can transform lives. The reconciliation between Richard and Thomas was just the beginning of a journey of healing and rediscovery for both. Richard was determined to make up for the lost time with his father, while Thomas, despite choosing a simple life alongside Max, realized he was no longer alone. Jake, who initially only observed from a distance, became a bridge between these 2 generations, learning valuable life lessons along the way. In the days following the reunion, Richard invited Thomas to move in with him, offering him comfort and security. But Thomas, always attached to his independence and the park he considered his refuge, hesitated. He loved the simplicity of his life and, more than anything, the freedom it provided. However, Richard's caring insistence and the desire to strengthen the father-son bond made Thomas agree. But the transition wasn't easy. Richard, used to a modern and luxurious lifestyle, struggled to understand Thomas's minimalist habits. On the other hand, Thomas found it difficult to adjust to the conveniences and rules of Richard's home. Small conflicts began to arise. Thomas felt stifled by the rigidity of his son's routine, while Richard struggled to accept his father's quirks, like the need to walk with Max in the park every morning without fail. Jake, who now accompanied Richard and Thomas on their walks in the park, was the one who eased the conflicts. With his purity and understanding, he acted as a mediator, bringing lighter perspectives and teaching both that each person has their own way of dealing with life. The friendship that blossomed between the boy, the older man, and Max became the glue that held the family relationship together. They began to meet daily in the park to walk, talk, and simply enjoy each other's company. Jake, who had always dreamed of having a dog, now had Buddy as his faithful companion. He was inspired by Max's loyalty and sought to replicate that example in his relationship with Buddy. Walks in the park became moments of joy and learning, where Richard and Thomas shared memories of their lives, while Jake listened attentively, absorbing every lesson. One day, while walking through the park, Thomas decided to share a secret he had kept for a long time. He talked about the real reason he left everything behind. It wasn't just the disappointment with Richard, but also a deep sadness he had carried since his wife's death. "She was the love of my life," Thomas began, with tears in his eyes. "When I lost her, it felt like the world fell apart. And when I saw you, Richard, drifting further away, I felt like I had failed as a father. That's why I chose isolation. The park gave me the peace I couldn't find anywhere else." Richard listened in silence, his emotions fluctuating between sadness and regret. "I never knew how much you were suffering, Dad. I was so focused on my own problems that I couldn't see what you were going through," he responded sincerely. The silence between them was no longer uncomfortable but filled with understanding. Both were finally ready to leave the past behind and build something new together. The friendship between Jake and Thomas also deepened. On a chilly autumn afternoon, as they watched the leaves slowly fall from the trees, Thomas shared with Jake the value of life's simple things. "You're lucky, kid," he said. "It took me a lifetime to learn that happiness is in the simple things: a walk in the park, the company of a good friend, a faithful dog by your side. Don't let the world distract you from what really matters." These words stayed engraved in Jake's heart. He began to cherish every moment with his family, friends, and especially with Buddy. The simplicity of Thomas's words helped Jake realize that, even at a young age, he had the power to make choices that would define his future. He promised himself that he would never drift away from his family and would always strive to keep strong bonds, no matter the difficulties. But the story doesn't end there. On a cold morning, while they were walking through the park, Max, Thomas's faithful dog, began acting strangely. He seemed restless, sniffing the air and running in circles. Thomas, worried, tried to calm him down, but something seemed wrong. Suddenly, Max started running toward a more secluded area of the park. Everyone ran after him, and to their surprise, they found a small puppy trapped among branches and leaves. It was trembling with cold and had clearly been abandoned. Jake immediately ran to help the puppy, followed by Thomas and Richard. They picked it up and carefully wrapped it in a coat to warm it up. "Looks like the park gave us another friend," Thomas said with a warm smile. "I think it was destined to find a new family today." Richard looked at the small puppy and then at his father and son. "Maybe it's a sign that we're ready for a new chapter, one where the family expands, where love and acceptance always prevail." They decided to adopt the puppy and named it Lucky, a symbol of how life can surprise us with unexpected gifts in the simplest moments. Now, along with Buddy and Max, Lucky became part of the big family that, despite all adversities, had found a path to forgiveness, unity, and joy. In the end, the lessons learned by Jake, Richard, and Thomas intertwine into a powerful message. No matter how difficult the past has been, there's always room for forgiveness and new beginnings. Love, loyalty, and friendship are the pillars that sustain a fulfilling life. The days passed, and the new routine of walks in the park with Buddy, Max, and now Lucky brought even more joy to Jake, Richard, and Thomas's lives. Little by little, the relationship between father and son grew stronger, and Jake's presence served as a constant reminder that true love and friendship are built with patience, empathy, and small acts of kindness. Richard, who once lived obsessed with work and success, began to see the value in simple things. Conversations with Thomas and Jake during their walks became the highlight of his day. "You know, Dad," he said on a sunny morning, "I used to think success was about having money and status. But today, I understand that true success is being surrounded by the people we love and sharing moments like these." Thomas smiled, looking at Jake playing with the dogs. "I learned that the hard way, Richard. But I'm glad you realized it while there's still time to enjoy these moments." As autumn turned the leaves golden and the cold began to settle in, Thomas decided it was time to do something special for Richard and Jake. He revealed a plan to renovate the old family country house, a place where they could spend more time together and where everyone, including the dogs, could enjoy nature and the peace of the countryside. With Richard's support and Jake's contagious energy, they began working on the renovation. Weeks of manual labor brought not only improvements to the house but also to their relationships. The laughter, shared stories, and joint effort made every brick laid in the old house symbolize the rebuilding of a united family. Finally, on the day the renovation was completed, they held a small celebration. The house was lit up, with a fireplace glowing and the smell of freshly baked cake in the air. Jake looked around and saw his parents chatting happily, Thomas smiling like never before, and the three dogs running around the yard. It was at that moment that Jake realized that the journey of reconciliation and forgiveness wasn't just about Richard and Thomas's past, but also about their future as a family. He felt grateful for being part of this story, for witnessing how love can transform everything. As night fell and they watched the stars shine in the clear country sky, Thomas placed his hand on Richard's shoulder and said, "You know, son, it's never too late to start over. I'm proud of the man you've become and how you're raising Jake. This house is a symbol of our new beginning, but the real home is what we're building here, together." Richard, with eyes filled with emotion, replied, "And I'm grateful for getting this second chance. I promise we'll make the most of every moment from now on." Jake smiled, feeling his heart warmed by the love emanating from his renewed family. And as he watched Max, Buddy, and Lucky playing joyfully, he understood that, as simple as they were, the small actions he had started in the park had brought about deep and lasting changes. Dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, remember that small gestures can make great transformations. Never underestimate the power of a simple act of kindness, as it can change lives and heal hearts. If you believe in the power of love, family, and forgiveness, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. Let's spread hope and build stronger bonds in a world that needs more acts of kindness. See you in the next video.